Hello, and a very warm welcome to This Woman's Work, a space where you can hear and read about some amazing women, the fantastic jobs they do, and the paths that have led them to where they are today.
I'm here today with Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Could you tell the listener what it is you do for a living?
Yeah, so basically I have a family consultancy business. So I work with families from all over the world, from anything from ranging from sleep to behaviour to maternity nursing to troubleshooting. So, for an example, if you have a 6-month-old that doesn't sleep through the night or is waking, you would contact me or one of the lovely girls that works for me, and we would troubleshoot with you and come up with a great plan to then you having a full night's sleep. Or it could be something to do with potty training or fussy eating, or you're have a toddler and you're welcoming a new baby. We also do a little bit of work with some high profile, high net worth clients where family concierge comes into play.
Yeah.
So we'll work with fully staffed households and we'll support the transitions with families who maybe have a new baby coming in but they've got fully staffed and they're like, oh gosh, we've got so much staff here, we need a new nanny, but we don't really know the roles and we just want everything to run super smoothly. And obviously in those situations confidentiality is key, so getting the right members of staff in, and it's all just kind of
understanding the needs of their specific household.
Exactly.
Because if they're high profile, they're likely doing high profile work.
Yes.
So that's very niche and very specific.
It is,
isn't it?
And I think for some people, it's a fast-paced environment. Previously, before I had my business, I nannied. So my background is I trained at the world-renowned Norland College, the nannying school.
Yeah.
So I've worked for families all over the world, just in the nannying world.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I learned with about confidentiality being key, working with these high profile families, how they want you to work those environments. They're super fast paced, they're long hours, you get to travel the world.
I was going to say,
the families are amazing that you work for. Some of the environments that I've been in are phenomenal, but again it's a different type of client.
It's quite hardcore.
Yeah,
so there's highs and lows, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think that's why I kind of came away from the nannying world and set up my business. COVID played a huge part in that, which I'm sure for a lot of people with setting up their businesses. I trained during COVID to become a sleep consultant, and I kind of found myself going down this like wormhole of information and understanding children's sleep. And I think as a nanny, it was always a hot topic of conversation between parents of being who was the most exhausted. Like I'm
still is.
Yeah, it's even now. I think,
and even with other mums. It's almost like a kind of competition.
Mine woke up 10 times last night. Mine woke up 12. So I think for me, I went and did my training with sleep, and it opened my eyes to all of this. I've always been a great sleeper, luckily. I've always had no problem.
Well, you was a baby then?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was. And I think I was always a good sleeper, like, throughout. I asked my mum, like, always slept really well.
Wow.
I think from kind of, like, 8 weeks, I was sleeping through the night.
Oh, dream
baby.
Child. Yeah.
So I think for me, it was understanding the how much sleep kind of impacts parents. So once I qualified, I then went and did some research into newborn sleep, because obviously that is very different to what I would say after the 6-month mark.
Yeah.
And I qualified and trained as a maternity nurse. So for people that don't know what a maternity nurse does, I will go in with parents and work with them from kind of the day the baby comes home from the hospital.
Right.
I work on 24 hours, normally 5-6 days a week for 3-4 months. And I support parents in putting a routine into place, helping them with the nights. Lots of parents who I work with have got high-powered jobs.
Yeah.
So, lots of them can't take a huge amount of time off. Or, dad's high up in a law firm and is up on American time.
Yeah.
And mum's like, I need to sleep, Dad needs to sleep. So then that's kind of how I come in. All the families I work with are super hands-on. They just have busy lives. And I think in this day and age, it's just to have that extra support. It benefits everybody.
And you know what? I think, I guess there's sort of an element of being able to afford support, which is one thing. But I think even so, we're jumping ahead here, but I think there's still such a stigma in asking for support.
Yeah.
I felt that as a mum, like the responsibility of a mum to, well, you should just be able to do this, you should be able to cope with all of this, you shouldn't, asking, even from family, asking for help, just felt like a failure to me. It really felt like to me.
It's such a common feeling.
And I think that definitely is, and I think this chat right now is about you and your career, but I would love to have another chat about that for kind of working mums and that kind of thing, because
of course.
I think
the stigma around it is awful, and I think
I think that's a whole other thing.
Postnatal depression is spoken about now. I don't think it's still spoken about enough.
Oh God, no. It has little flurries, but then they quickly dissipate, don't they?
And I think mental health is a massive thing, and I work with children and I adore what I do, and I have the sleepless nights, but I think for parents that aren't used to it, some of the people I work for, they're in their 40s and this is their first baby, so they're 45,
all they know is being on their own.
All they know is some single parents, I've worked with some single mothers, single fathers, and I think the shock to them is quite a lot of like, you cannot, once you have a baby, you cannot give a baby back.
Yeah.
It's the most amazing thing.
It's not a pop
but
plant,
I'm sure when you had yours, sometimes you're just like, I just need to tap out for 5. Like, I need to wee, I need to have a shower, I need to have a 10-minute nap. And, if you have a colicky baby that's just screaming all night long, it hits parents really hard. And I think even for somebody who is what you would say is really qualified, I would 100% have help, because actually at the end of the day, a well-rested parent is a far better parent than an exhausted one that's trying to do everything on their own and not asking for help. And actually the child benefits more if you are ready to go for the day and you've had a good amount of rest, or you are able to take them out for a walk, or to take them wherever you want to take them for the day. I think, like you say, there are sometimes families where grandparents or other members who maybe, like you say, can't afford the help. There's an element of maybe jealousy. So then that impacts, new mum who's just had a baby, and sister-in-laws, well, I did it with 4 and all of that.
I know.
So I think it would be...
And even mums. So, like, mums of mum,
So when they're sat having their coffee and cake.
Yeah, and they're like, well, I did it like this. And, mum's judgment of their daughters, I think, is a real thing as well.
100%. And also, so much has changed with research and understanding about what children need. I mean, like, when my nan was raising hers, like, the way to get rid of a fever was to sweat it out.
I know.
Now, we know now that is, like, one of the most dangerous things to do. As well as, they used to... I'm all for, like, fresh air and sleep is one of the things I recommend. But, they'd leave pushchairs outside while they were shopping all day. And everything's changed so much.
Because we know more. We just know more.
And the research has changed and developing. And, there's so much more about SIDS now with the charity and sudden infant death syndrome. So I think there's some, like, amazing things that come. But some people are going off what they were recommended when... Like, so my mum would say things to me now and I'd be like, well, no, you should never have done that. But that's what she knew back then.
That's all she knew.
Like, she left me to cry. Like,
no, well, See, I wasn't a good sleeper. And my mum, I think that bothered... Well, I think there's 2 things there. One, when my mum will talk, and I think a lot of that generation, I'm in my mid-40s, but... When babies were born, they were taken away from... Like, you were in hospital for at least a week, I think, weren't you? And babies were taken off the mum a lot, so the mum got chance to sleep and rest. So they have no concept of what you like. You'll go home straight away.
Yeah, what did they used to have all the babies in the room? Didn't they lined up?
And then you had proper sort of, people that looked at nurses, and then they brought them to you to feed. And then in many ways they'd take them, maybe a bit of body time, but they'd take them away again.
They don't do that now.
Mums now, often within hours of giving birth, you're home and you're on your own with it all. So I think that's one thing, just the fact that you are utterly, you barely sleep before you give birth because you're so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I had horrendous labours, so they went on for like 2 days, so I didn't then sleep for 2 days. Yeah. And then I'm immediately at home with a brand new baby
that doesn't sleep. Yeah.
So like the trauma of all of that is just, it's horrendous. But I think even aside of that, I think just the differences in,
you probably had post-traumatic birth, and it's just undiagnosed.
Very much so, yeah.
And I've worked with some mums through there's a charity called TAMBA, which is Twins and Multiples Association, which I'm a consultant for, and my work there is all free.
Wow.
Which, as you say, as and when I can do it. But I've met a few mums who had really traumatic births. 2 or 3 babies are going home with them, and then they're expected to kind of figure this out. Lots of dads go back to work pretty much straight away. Financially, they have to. Lots of second parents don't have the leave, the paternity leave.
Yeah.
It's a couple of weeks. Which I personally don't think is enough.
And the NHS can't offer any. It's broken. It cannot offer anything else. I mean, you get the midwives.
Yeah.
That come and check on you the next day when you get home or something.
And the health visitors come out.
But really, they can't. They can't spend a lot of time there.
No, and I think that's where there is a glitch in the system, unfortunately, in that families who can afford to pay for the help, that's why they do. So they have the support. There is something that I would love to do further down the line where there is more out there charity-wise, where a percentage of my business profits will go towards...
pro bono support,
Yeah. Some parents have never even changed a nappy or held a baby or done anything when I meet them, and they're terrified because this little human depends on them.
Yes, yeah.
So I think, like you say, it's a really difficult time for parents, but it's a magical time, and I love doing what I do, but I wish there was more out there for them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, and this is part of your
hopefully.
master plan, but like you say, you just need lots more of you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on that point then, let's just track back quickly then, and we talk about little Emily, school, college, what were you like, what were you into? And I guess this is one of these things that people can get a feel for how you ended up on the career path. So what were you into at school?
Yeah, so I wasn't hugely academic.
Yeah.
I was always a practical learner. I think my brother was the academic one out of the two of us.
Okay.
So he definitely got the brains. I was more on the go all the time. I was super into horses, so that's how I spent my weekends. I was really outdoorsy, so I grew up, I was very fortunate. I grew up with a family who loved being outdoors. Dad was super into camping, so we're always in the caravan. We were lucky enough to go away quite a lot, doing those kind of holidays, on the beach a lot.
Yeah.
So I was on the go a lot. I am the eldest.
So using energy, but all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Mum was really into the outdoors. We didn't watch a huge amount of television. So I think I was quite maternal from a young age. My nan is super maternal. She grew up helping.
So is this your mum's mum?
Yeah, special needs. My mum is a very maternal person as well. She's very good with young children. And I think it just came from there.
Yeah.
I always wanted to work with children. So I always...
so you knew?
Yeah, from a really young age. Well, actually, I thought I was going to be a vet, and then I was rubbish at science.
Oh.
So it was horses or children.
Yeah.
So I went and trained... I went to study at Leeds to become a teacher.
Okay.
Just logically, that seemed the right path to go down.
Yeah.
I then went and did a placement in a school and very quickly realised that it wasn't for me. I really enjoyed the one-to-one side of things. And I remember coming away and going, I want to work with children, but it's not teaching.
Yeah.
What on earth do I want to do? So then I went to work in a nursery for a year, and I worked with little ones and loved it. But obviously, with nursery nursing, there comes a huge amount with Ofsted and the paperwork and the observations.
Yeah.
And I didn't love it. I loved the children and the bond that you made.
Yeah.
But I just didn't love all the added extras.
Yeah.
So then I went to New Zealand first, kind of was like, oh, I want to go to New Zealand. I'll just go and au pair for a year.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. So got home, jumped on a plane, went over to New Zealand, and I worked with the most amazing family with 2 girls. The girls were really little. They were on a 750-acre farm in the middle of nowhere, right at the bottom of the South Island. It was like, you couldn't make it up that I just made this decision at like, I must have been 20.
Yeah.
And I went and moved in with this family.
And what qualifications did you need to do
au pairing? Nothing.
Really? You've just got to be willing to go.
Yeah.
And do you just register on a website or something?
Yeah. So like, so went off, and I remember Dad Smithy picked me up from the airport, and I was like, what have I done? I'm on the other side of the world with nobody. Like, no family, no friends. I'm 20 years old.
No phone reception, really shoddy.
Literally nothing.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, looking back, like, it was just, like, the bravest decision I ever made, but the best. Like, I was so lucky. They were, you know, they're still family to this day. The girls are all big now. And I spent a year with them. And they were amazing. Like, I had the most fun, and that's kind of where it clicked, where I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be more personal.
Yeah.
So my mum's best friend was like, oh, have you heard of Norland? And I was, oh, what's Norland? Like, so Googled it and was like, this sounds amazing. So at Norland, you do your degree of early years development, but you also do something called a Norland diploma, which is like, we call it like on the job training.
Right.
So it's all the training that you do alongside your degree, so it puts like your practice into play, kind of thing. So you know, we learned how to do like terry toweling nappies, like we did all the like first aid training, lifeguarding, I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
So a full
defensive driving, like you name it, we did it.
Yeah.
We had like etiquette training at one point. Like we had like it was so vast.
Yeah. Which was so interesting.
It was so interesting, and if anyone ever wants to work in childcare, it's what I would say is the route to go if you want to be a nanny.
And how do you apply to them then? Is it because obviously they've only got a certain amount of intake?
Yes, they take about, I think it's about 100 a year off the top of my head, roughly.
Yeah.
You are similar to universities. So they're basically a private college.
Yeah.
So it's kind of done through UCAS.
Okay.
So they're similar to what you would apply to another university. So then I got my play. You have to go in for an interview. They meet you in person. They talk through, you know, kind of everything, what you've done, your experiences.
I was going to say, at least by this point, you're rocking up there.
Yeah,
Having done what you've done for a year, you've done the nurseries. Yeah.
So it was great, and I was really passionate about what I wanted to do, and I think at that point I knew, and I think 18-year-old me that just went from school to uni because it was kind of the done thing, and you just following everyone else, whereas actually I should have taken a step back, taken a breath, done a year out.
Yeah.
I think once I got to what I wanted to do, everything fell into place quite naturally.
Yeah.
So I studied, I trained, so the training is 4 years in total.
Well, I was going to say, so the whole thing is 4 years.
So you do 3 years in Bath at Norland, and then you go and do something. I know, spoiled with that one, and then you go and do a year. It's called an NQM, which is a newly qualified nannying year. So you're still training, but you work for a family. So I had the most wonderful family in London, and once I qualified, I was then a fully fledged Norlander.
Yeah.
But I stayed on with them and did all my training, and then after that, I realised that I wanted to work with more families, and I also wanted to be my own boss.
Because I guess, like you say, you've not gone straight into 18 now. You've almost done a few things. You've now added this on.
Yeah.
And you're putting it all together now, aren't you? You're putting all of it together, think, like, what do I want my career to be?
And I think that's really key, is that I have all this experience from like 18 of knowing that, like, you know, I've worked in nurseries, so when I talk to parents about the transition with nursery, I have that nursery nurse side. So I'm like, right, these are the questions you need to ask. This is what Ofsted wants, so you need to make sure you're checking these policies. So I think I've learned a lot in the different avenues I've gone down. Obviously, nothing's perfect. when you're trying to find out what you want to do. And I think for some people it's really hard, and it was for me, like finding out. I knew which little sector I wanted to be in, but I couldn't pinpoint what it was.
Yeah.
And now I do what I do, and I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah.
I know you have a little life in you yet. I know you have a lot of strength left. I know you have a little life in you yet.
I think it's just one of those where you fall in love with families, and I've got families on my books that I've worked with since their children are newborns, and I still have phone calls about them being, I don't know, the new transition to secondary school and how best can we do this, and you know, those kind of things. So that's why, you know, lots of people will be like, oh, but you only work for them for 2 or 3 months and then you're off, and I'm like, it's not really how it works.
No.
It kind of is a continuous.
You're there then to be their kind of.
It's like their
Not
own
backup, I was gonna- that's not
it's
even
like
the
their
right
own
word.
personal consultant, like for their child.
Sorry, I cut you up there.
No, not
so
at all.
you've been working for this family in London, realising that you wanted to be able to do that for more families. So where did that then take you?
So I took on a maternity nurse role with a family, and I actually moved back in with my parents. I was very lucky that I came out of London. I was living in London, and I think I was like, right, I'm about to start a business.
Yeah.
Financially, do I want to be paying rent in London?
No.
Nope, thank you. So I was very lucky. I've got very supportive parents who were like, come home.
Yeah.
Just come home, figure it out.
Well, you've got a plan. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's not like you're coming here and going, I'm jobless, I'm this.
I
Do you know what I mean? Which I'm sure they'd still support you with anyway. But...
I think I came home, and I think I was at home about a year, maybe just over a year, and I saved and I did all of that, and that's when I bought this place. But I established the business and kind of got it where I wanted to be. So it was like making enough money that I can support myself outside of being at home. So that's, so after London...
So that initial business then was you setting up what you've described at the start. So you offering this multi-layer
the consultancy.
But at the moment, that's just you then. To start with, it was just you.
Yeah, so it's just me.
At what point then did you think, I need to get more of me?
So I basically felt like... So I started to not turn away clients, but I was struggling to fit people in and around. And also, in my first year, when I started the business, I very much burnt myself out.
Yeah,
I just worked 24/7.
Trying to do it all.
Tried to do it all, whilst having a social life, whilst having a partner at the time. Yeah. And it just didn't work. And my mood was low, I was exhausted.
I guess this is still kind of COVID-y as well, isn't it? So
100%. Because
weird-ass time all in itself.
And I think during COVID we did more because we didn't do anything else. So I think for me that was a big change, and then I just had to take a step back and was like, right. So a couple of the girls that work for me are kind of different areas as well.
Okay, and did you know them already?
Yeah, so I only will take on people that I've either worked with or know.
Yeah, okay.
As in that industry. I just think because when you're referring somebody on...
oh my gosh. I mean, again, reputation, it's so... if you send a dud in...
I know, exactly.
It could ruin you, couldn't it?
So one of the girls who works alongside me is Georgie, because she's pre- and postnatal personal trainer.
Okay.
So she does everything. If I have any mums that want kind of support before or after, with how to train, what to do, what
or
they're
even
allowed
like
to
your
do.
own personal health.
Yeah.
That's again another thing, isn't it? That's a whole topic in itself.
Yeah. So Georgie's great. So her training is pre- and postnatal personal trainer. So she will help any mums that have any questions. And then one of the other girls on my books, she's also worked in a lot of high profile, high net worth households. She's also a nutritionist. So she does a lot around food.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So she does a lot more around. She's also great with behaviour, but
which is really linked to food, isn't it?
Yeah. So she's more linked food-based stuff. She does, and she's great with the clients. They love her. She's again, like I said, worked in a lot of fully staffed households.
Yeah.
So we just work in conjunction really well together. she has and she's based in London, so sometimes if I can't get into London, like,
brilliant.
it just works really well.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to take on a few more people maybe next year, but we'll just see how the year goes. So I think it's really important that, you know, it's people get the support and the help that they need, and it's something I'm passionate about, and I want to encourage more mums to reach out.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, I can help. I can't help everybody, but hopefully I can help enough.
Some.
Yeah. So I'm currently studying my master's in early childhood education. So
because you've got loads of free time.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely. I've got hours of free time. So just add one more plate, I think, was just enough just to keep me going. So it's basically this at the moment is looking at schools. It's the EYFS.
Okay.
School-based learning. I have done things a lot on play, policies and procedures. I really like to be up to date in the school system as well.
Okay.
I don't have so I don't do school work, if that makes sense, as in, like, if somebody came to me and asked me about a school, I'm not an education consultant.
Yes, okay.
I have a company that I work in coincide with.
Okay, that you can recommend.
That I recommend. So their business is ESB, and they do consulting. So they are a married couple. Her background is, again, a Norlander. And it's like a family and education consultancy. So we overlap ever so slightly with some of the work that we do. But Ed is an education consultant. So he has worked in the private school system.
Right.
And he is quite accomplished and knows a lot. So I often recommend a lot of my families towards them.
Okay.
So that's not something I cover just because I haven't. But I like to understand the education system.
Yeah.
So is why I've taken on my master's, is it kind of covers, like, the education and policies and procedures, as well as, like, the play and development in the early years.
Yeah.
And it all tying in together.
Well, it will do. With everything else, you'll be able
100%.
to... Like, so what you're describing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is offering absolutely bespoke service to every single client.
Yeah.
And that means it isn't a one-size-fits-all. I mean, obviously, the lovely NHS loves that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're all quite programmed to kind of fit into boxes.
Yeah.
And there isn't such a thing.
There's no tick boxes, nothing like that.
So you're very much about acquiring all of this personal knowledge yourself.
Yeah.
And getting specialists on board.
100%.
That can offer an absolutely whatever the need is for the...
And also, I happily hold my hands up if somebody comes to me for something like what Ed and Zabina offer, which is the education consultancy, and it's also not something I'm 100% comfortable with.
Okay, so that's kind of where we are. Have we missed anything? I feel like there's probably loads.
I think
that's brought us up to where we are.
I think for anyone that wants to start a business, I think probably similar to your views is you kind of have to jump in 2 feet first, and you just have to take that leap of faith, and I think just some logical thinking about, you know, if your finances, and, like, just make sure when you're jumping in 2 feet first, like, you're not going to be living in a box.
Yeah.
And so I think for my thing,
it's got to be sustainable, isn't it?
Yeah, and my thing was, you know, I moved back in with my parents and set up my business. I was very fortunate to be able to do that. Not everyone is in that same position. I have other women that have started businesses, you know, and maybe it's their side hustle for a little while, and then they take it on full time. But definitely, if you're thinking of doing it, definitely do it, because it'll always be in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
And I think the worst thing,
figure out a way.
And the worst thing that's going to happen is it stays a side hustle, or the best thing that's going to happen is it's going to absolutely take off, and it's going to be your full time job.
Yeah. Whole new you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, on that note then, so what is next for you then? What does the next 12, 24 months look like?
So we've just rebranded the business, and obviously I'd said taken on some lovely new women. So the next 6 to 12 months we are looking at, there is some possible media work that might be coming in, which is very exciting. I would like to offer some antenatal classes.
Yeah.
So like some pre and postnatal classes in kind of like the Stamford area for new mums, pregnant mums. That's kind of what I would like to do. The next step is kind of get some, what you'd say is courses, but like groups together where women can come and they can learn with their partners.
In terms of focusing on, I guess, skill sets and things like that, because that's always one that I think it ends up coming. I used to ask this religiously at the start, but now I think it's quite obvious. But I think from my interpretation of what makes you good at what you do, really. So if someone's considering, you know, anything, and I think obviously you've got to have an interest in children, that goes without saying. You've got to be able to multitask, and really comfortable, and almost enjoying multitasking, because, like you say, I love being busy. I really thrive. I was going to say,
I thrive off a little bit of like stress as well.
Okay.
I think stress. I mean, like, I am super organised.
That's just like, so you just like busy environments.
Yeah, so when you thrive a little bit of stress, where you're like, okay, I've got to get all of this done.
Yeah.
I got my organisational quality from my mother. I love to be organised. I don't think I could do what I'd do if I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm a traditional. I love a paper diary, so everything goes in that. I can't do like a technology calendar yet.
And what about things that you're not so good at then? Do you think that what about you makes this challenging?
Saying no.
I was going to say, and also knowing when to stop. Surely knowing when to.
I'm getting better at it. I kind of carve out time, and I try really hard to like have that time. So I've just last week had a client cancel, and instead of replacing it, I was like, oh, actually, do you know what? I'll just kind of I call them admin weeks.
Yeah.
So I just take a step back. I'm at home. I'll go to the gym. I'll go out for a walk.
You invest in you.
Yeah, but as well as like, because I think for me, unless I'm going away, like when I'm on holiday or abroad, I struggle to like not at least do like a few bits and bobs, because I think otherwise sometimes it gets on top of you. So like today I've been sat writing an essay, replying to some clients, but it's been very minimal, like low level stress stuff,
to recoup,
which is great. Talking to a couple of clients that want stuff towards the end of the year, that kind of thing. But I think I can't, just my own nature is I can't completely stop. I think it's just me, and that's always going to be me. But I have learnt when to like take a step back and be like, right, tap out. You just got to tap out for a bit. And that's often where I'll hand things over to Jess. I'll be like, if anyone gets in contact, like I'm just away at the moment, and I'll get back to you.
But equally, when you run your own business, it's so hard doing that, because equally when you're self-employed, that means choosing to not earn some money, doesn't it? Which, you know, can be so scary at the start.
Exactly. And I think that's...
And it's difficult. It's easy to prioritise money over your mental health and wellness.
Oh my God, like even now I sat doing finances today, and you know, you're just like, oh God, like just got to make sure that comes in then, and and if I've got to chase that, and it's just part of the process. But then you can say no to stuff, and you know, as much as I don't know, you know, where I'm going to be at the end of December with work, it's also quite nice. Like that you can.
Well, and you've got the confidence now, I think, to know that you will be somewhere.
Oh God, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's the thing. When you first start out, you don't probably have that confidence, do you?
I can always go back into full-time nannying.
Yeah, okay.
It's not what I want to do.
No.
But it's there.
Yeah. So you've got
think
backup
for me, that's like, it's always there. Like it's always my backup plan, if needs be, for a little bit. So, yeah.
Fabaruna. Right, my two final questions then.
Yeah.
And then I can let you get back to your essay writing. What life advice would you give your younger self? So, could be any version of your younger self, but maybe that younger self that just didn't quite know what she wanted to do.
I think I really struggled. I mean, I was very fortunate. I went to a private school. However, by going to private school meant that
the expectations are quite high.
The expectations are very high, that you go off to university and, you know, academic wise, I wasn't there. I was very middle range, you know, probably, and I think for me it would be just being like, you don't have to be A's. You don't have to be A-star smart to do well in life and accomplish something. I think I was very lucky that my parents were super grounded. You know, I worked from the age of 14. I always had a job. Like I wasn't like working in a bar, at a restaurant, doing something. So I learned the value of money from quite a young age. My dad was very hot on that. I think because we were very lucky that we were able to have a fortunate education, that he didn't want us to not understand that everything isn't just handed to you. So that would probably be myself, and to not worry about what people think so much. I think, and like body image was a major thing when I was at school.
Still is.
And it's coming, and I think with social media it's turning a little bit in the...
Oh, but slowly.
But it's not turning quick enough. But I think it's so hard to say, I'd just give her a hug and be like, do you know what? It turns out all right in the end.
Yeah. Okay, my final question then is life advice that you would like to just throw out there. So not to your younger self necessarily, but you as you now. This could be a mantra that you follow or something that you just would like to share with the world. If Emily had a T-shirt, what would it say?
It's okay to do it on your own. You know, women take on a huge amount on their shoulders, and I think it's just to be able to be like, you know, I still get now like, oh, how's the dating life? Have you met anyone yet? And I'm like, no, I'll tell you when I have.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, grandparents are great at that.
Well, someone's got to come into your life, and hopefully you're a lot wiser than I say my generation, but than say I was and other people were. Because I think that, you know, like you say, being aware and being confident enough to be okay on your own, which is what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas just otherwise just rushing into a relationship that's just not right for you and not healthy for you.
I'm very fortunate. I'm surrounded by great family, great friends. But I think loneliness was a massive thing for me, especially being here in my house by myself was something I had to learn. But I think with the business as well, because when you're working for somebody or you're in an office environment or you're in an environment where I'm working as a nanny, you are an employee and you are speaking to people. You know, sometimes I'm here all day by myself and I've not spoken to anyone all day because I've been busy doing whatever. So being happy in your own company, I think, is really important as well. Really, really key.
On that note,
there we go.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for coming out and seeing me.
Oh.
If you would like to hear more about this chat, see some pics and read about how to get started in this industry and or this role, then please go to our website www.thiswomanswork.org. The link is on this podcast page and across our socials. Sincere thanks.